I'm excited to introduce SaveAct in South Africa. We've had, in the past 5 years, we've been able to pioneer a savings model and add 20,000 members to savings groups. And now we believe it's time for us to take that experience and the sustainability of these groups and in turn leverage that to make SaveAct sustainable. If we could go to next, please. I'm experiencing a bit of a delay here, but yeah, the value proposition. SaveAct is offering financial security and cost savings to the rural poor through financial education into a secure savings and financial services environment. And we have a partnership with a large financial service retailer that is busy designing complementary services to members of these savings groups, initially primarily to deal with excess liquidity challenges that they face. And thirdly, we will be also working with a large retailer that has a very substantial footprint throughout South Africa in deep rural, smaller towns that can enable the delivery of products and services to our members. Next, please. SaveAct is a South African NGO, and we're promoting these self-sustaining savings groups as well as sustainable livelihood opportunities. And we're presently scaling up and moving into new provinces in South Africa. Next, please. I'm going to just give you a brief overview of our model. It's a stepped approach, and it serves to channel human capital. It starts with savings, that's the entry point, and it builds from that foundation, which is a very solid one. That savings initially also builds on a culture of savings through stokvels in South Africa, and there's very high demand for this. In the first year we add financial education and some life skills training, and then in the second year we introduce members to enterprise opportunities. And in that year they become also independent and operate their financial services on their own. And this mix of complementary activities brings multiple benefits to the members and equips them to basically have access to their own financial services and develop more sustainable livelihoods. Next, please. Now, what I've done in this diagram, I've located what you've just seen in the center in that rectangular object, and this is now about the social enterprise activities that SaveAct plans to introduce to complement the core savings program. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a group account that will be offered by a large retail bank, the largest bank in South Africa. And later on they'll introduce other complementary services to savings group members. On the left we've identified that some 30% of expenditure amongst these households goes into housing and home improvements, so we see a big potential channel of delivery of products, improved housing materials and support systems, and we're busy exploring that with Habitat for Humanity. On the right you'll see also agricultural supplies and agro-industry. There already is a substantial process underway where savings group members pool their capital and buy seeds and other agricultural inputs, and we'll build on that experience. And lastly, we plan to introduce micro-products, access to medicines, toiletries, technology and airtime to savings group members using the shared channels that SaveAct has with its membership. Thank you. Next. The market for savings groups in South Africa ranges between 4 and 4.5 million heads of households, approximately 22 million poor and underserved people, predominantly women, very vulnerable, often in excessive debt. They're prone to shocks and stresses, high levels of HIV and AIDS. 80% of this market receives grants of an average monthly value of $100 or so, and this is a big capital injection that allows them to save. They're very much dependent on informal and exploitative loan sharks. Their low levels of entrepreneurship. South Africa's infamous for poor quality of education, and there's a reliance on grants and remittances. Next, please. If you look at the segmentation of that market, we anticipate there will be 70% women, 25% youth, and 5% men. And we are busy designing how we communicate with each of these segments through cell phone-based communication systems, through the financial education, and through different marketing channels designed to meet each particular need of this group. Next, please. On the enabler side for this market, there's the savings that is mobilized, and it also involves aggregating savings, concentrating it, and that allows opportunities amongst the members. There's strong social capital that is built. It's happening in an untapped market where there's strong political and economic pressure to do something that is worthwhile in the interests of the rural poor. The partners that we're working with appreciate the concept of what we're trying to do. So within the bank, for example, the manager of inclusive banking is facilitating this link. The partners have some experience in the market. There's a common goal to achieve financial and social inclusion. And SaveAct's financial education and enterprise support helps to create the right environment for these things to work. SaveAct has credibility amongst the members, and there's also limited competition. On the obstacle side, there's clearly some risk of displacement of local traders and entrepreneurs, and we would obviously seek to avoid that as much as we can. There's political risk, there's gatekeeping that happens. We have a history of suspicion, conflict, constant contestation, and so on. It's costly to get products and services into these remote parts, and there's poor infrastructure. And there's risk of contamination of the different channels. Next, please. The business model involves building on the demand for savings and leveraging partnerships to bring in additional services. It also includes developing shared channels into this market and influencing the way in which people manage their money, hopefully shifting it towards productive and durable assets. And we'll be focusing on growing the savings program from the current 20,000, adding 50,000 in the next 3 years. We'll be doing market research in 2013 to focus the targeting of products and services. And then the purchasing will happen through loans from savings groups and from annual share rights. Next, please. I've presented here an indicative budget. You'll see here from C1 to C4 estimates of the costs of introducing these new products and services, the different channels I referred to earlier. most of those costs would be carried by the partner, so we do not anticipate having to raise all of that money ourselves. Then you'll see other income from ABSA, corporate social investment, other donors, that most of that capital has already been raised, at least for 2013, but we anticipate pretty secure funding for the next few years, particularly if we're selling that on the strength of building a social enterprise. And then you can see the costs near the bottom and the ending cash balances. So we have a break-even or above break-even situation. Next, please. And what we're looking to ultimately achieve is that savings groups are better able to manage their money, and financial services are safe, offering good value. Quality of life is enhanced through access to cheaper, better quality products and inputs. And here are some indicative costs per member. This is for new members, $57 in 2013 and declining thereafter as income starts to be generated and we achieve more economies of scale. Next, please. Some of the critical success factors: we need to have freedom to pilot, to make mistakes, to learn and redesign, and we must rely on long-term partnerships, and we need stable funding to scale up. We've got to avoid contamination of the core model and maintain focus on quality during the scaling up process. And we have to be able to offer value for money in terms of these products and services.
Unmuted.
We also have to have efficient, reliable channels of product delivery. Next, please. And we are busy forming a reference group that will consist of current mentors, board members, consultants in Genesis in Johannesburg, ABSA Bank, PEP Stores, which is the big retailer, and the Social Trade Organization. They are busy moving into South Africa from Latin America and Holland. And we're relying on a Peace Corps, an experienced volunteer during next year to provide full-time support to this process. Thank
Anton, take a couple seconds to wrap up. That's your time.
Yes, if you can just go to the last slide, I think it is. It's not quite, but this is essentially talking about the outcomes of what we want to achieve. We hope to support 550,000 people in this next 4-year period, 20,000 enterprises supported, and $10 million circulating amongst members. And then most importantly, laying a foundation to spread the program nationally and in the region. So thank you very much. I think that